Greetings once again, people, and welcome to yet another episode of Seeking Shamblers. This time around, we're going to be checking out KYSENTRY. That's the only name for this level, but it will go on to eventually become KYSENTRY 2 before becoming Entryway III Quakeed. Both of which we've covered in some format here in the various Quake series. KYSENTRY 2 was included in the Aftershock standalone levels. Yeah, that's basically the only place we've seen it. We've never been able to convert that one over because I haven't found it anywhere. KYSENTRY 3, also known as Entry 3 Quakeed, is the final version of this level as far as I'm aware, and it featured a lot more balanced of a gameplay than the previous version did. The first version of this particular level, well, KYSENTRY 2 should I say, was actually pretty brutal. It was freaking brutal. There was Shamblers everywhere, barely any ammo. It was a nightmare of a level. And KYSENTRY 3 really changed the balance in the player's favor and made it really not so bad to complete. But this is the opposite side of the equation. This is KYSENTRY. This is the original version of this whole series, if you will. It kind of explains in context why it's called Entry 3 Quakeed. But yeah, that one is basically the final one of the series, and like I said, I haven't found KYSENTRY 2, but this is the original version at least, and we get to see how it originally looked, because I haven't really been able to see that one up until this point. Anyway, as usual, I don't have any documentation, but I do know it's most likely made by Chaos. I believe the documentation for some of its other levels even says as much, but other than that, there's really not much to talk about. Except for the fact that at this point, there is no level in-game that will actually continue on for, KYSENTRY 2. That only really becomes a thing with KYSENTRY 3, needless to say. But yeah, needless to say, this is the newest version of the whole thing. This is really the version of the level that we're really dealing with here. Is the original raw format of KYSENTRY, or as he called it, KYSENTRY. Actually, that's the other interesting thing to note about. He changed it in KYSENTRY 2 to just KYSENTRY, but the original version of it was KYSENTRY. I'm assuming he had to, limit it due to, a number of, letters or something like that. You could probably only fit so many letters in your name. I actually believe we've run across that a lot of times. So I assume he probably cut it down from KYSENTRY to KYSENTRY because of that, because he couldn't fit the full word when it came to numbering them. So yeah, I believe the full name of it is probably Sentry or something. It's I don't know. Why would you call it Sentry? When you call it Entry? Oh, wait a minute. I get it now. Okay, because yeah, this is KISS, KYS, which is Chaos's initials. That is always been Chaos's initials for making all these levels, is KYS. That's always how you know it's his levels. And it's Entry, which makes sense because this is the entryway to Doom 2. So needless to say, I'm actually finally understanding why it's named the name it's named. So yeah, finally kind of got the idea of that one. Yeah, it really didn't make much sense when it's called Enti. You know, it kind of does, but at the same time, it really did give the full idea with it broken apart like it was later on. But seeing the original file name, it makes a lot more sense why it's called what it's called. So with that in mind, let's load up the level and see what exactly the original version of KYSENTRY looked like. KYSENTRY. Let's see how this is. I do remember right at the start, it's going to bombard us with death. I really don't know how this one will go in comparison to the other two. It's probably could be very small, subtle differences like KYSENTRY 3 to KYSENTRY 2 was. But we'll see it anyway and see what exactly it run across. Wait a minute. There's nothing here to kill me, people. Okay. Apparently KYSENTRY is just a deathmatch map, everybody. Yeah, this one does not have the multiplayer it doesn't have the single player capabilities you saw in KYSENTRY 2 and KYSENTRY 3. And I already fell and I can't get back up because this isn't KYSENTRY 3. KYSENTRY 3, you get an elevator that allows you to get back up, which is probably very nice. But here you don't get that. But yeah, this is the original version of the level. And yeah, as you see, it's just a deathmatch level. It does not have the single-player component that you'd see later on. That was pretty awesome because the later versions. Yeah, this is just kind of here, sadly. Man, I was expecting to face off against some Shamblers in an epic battle. Instead, we get a rather dull level that feels basically like every other Doom 2 remake. Now, I'm not sure what the big differences are between it off the top of my head. I'm probably going to have to, like, go through and compare them. I do know, like, in KYSENTRY 3, you have a lot of weird mobility issues around here. I don't believe you had that in KYSENTRY 2. Yeah, I don't recall in KYSENTRY 2 any weird mobility issues up here. So I can't even really say that was the problem. As said, I don't really recall the differences between KYSENTRY 2 and, this one. Because KYSENTRY 2 was a while back. KYSENTRY 3 wasn't so long, but KYSENTRY 2, quite a while ago. So yeah, we're just running around, gather around all this ammo, because that's all you do in deathmatch maps, you gather ammo. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of disappointed with this one, as I was expected to be a bit more grandiose, if you will. I was kind of expecting to even do something with it for, Stripper, my mod. I was planning to, like, try and make this, like, almost like a secret level and, like, have it, like, almost like a retcon of, Doom. Like, Doom's E3M9, whereby you, like, play the same level, but it's a lot worse and a lot more evil. Yeah, I was planning to, like, fill this level with, like, blazing fiends everywhere and make it freaking brutal to get through. But alas, this level doesn't really have anything. But maybe I just kind of gave away the idea of what I'm planning to do in the event I ever find KYSENTRY 2, which I'm not sure if I ever will. That one's kind of a weird middle ground one. It kind of makes sense that we see the original one and kind of see KYSENTRY 3. But KYSENTRY 2 might be a bit harder to find. But yeah, you can see this is just like KYSENTRY 2. It doesn't have the sloped ramps yet that you'd see in KYSENTRY 3. It's just a square. And yeah, that's basically it. Also, interestingly, I think this later on became like a balcony you could walk up and like face off against the ogre and all that. This one is just a teleporter right here, nothing really fancy. Yeah, you just walk straight into the teleporter, you get to the top. Okay. Simple enough. But yeah, it seems like KYSENTRY 2 was probably the best one for when it comes to like difficulty and all that. I mean, KYSENTRY 3 was probably a more balanced experience, but that was exactly the fun of KYSENTRY 2, was how freaking brutal it was. And it's kind of a shame that you come here and there's nothing. You know, I was kind of, like I said, looking forward to that extra hard experience, even harder than KYSENTRY 2 was. So let's see, you head out here. Oh, I see. Yeah, this area in KYSENTRY 2 became a wide open area with water underneath. And this is where you'd exit the map. Here, all you do is just grab a quad damage. That's literally all there is. And a teleporter leading back up. Which does exist in the final version. It was kind of like a why question, I guess. Except for the fact that you had no other way up here in Deathmatch. But yeah, because this is fully Deathmatch based, that's all you have in this one. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's almost identical to KYSENTRY 2 in a lot of ways. Except I'm going to have to rewrite a lot of it because it is a deathmatch level and not single-player based at all. So yeah, rather interesting to check out, see the little, similar level, but at the same time, lacks that component that we're so used to. Yeah, it's not really that interesting. But it does at least bring closure to the KYSENTRY series, because we did see, as said, KYSENTRY 2, we did see KYSENTRY 3, so it is good to see the final component of it get a actual proper timestamp for this one. I actually get a timestamp here, so that's good. So I actually know when this one came out and when KYSENTRY 3 came out. And so we can kind of get an idea that KYSENTRY 2 is somewhere in the middle of those two. Though sadly, I don't really have a date. Basically, this one came out on August 21st. The third one came out on September 20th or so. So you really probably look at like a mid-September release, I would say, for KYSENTRY 2. But that's beside the point. Anyway, I'm really done here. There's really not much to talk about. As said, it kind of is a lackluster deathmatch level that I was expecting to have a bit more, but alas it did not. And as said, you can't really blame it because he did fix the issues in the later versions. In KYSENTRY 2 and KYSENTRY 3, you definitely get enough single-player gameplay. But it would have been nice if we had like a brutal version of it here. Something I could mess around with and edit and make it to something more brutal. Because as said, the worst thing about like BSP files and all this is that I can't really edit a level directly, if you will. I can't like modify a level using any of the software I have. It basically gives me errors if I try and pull that off. So the best I can really do is like edit entities. I can change around what entities exist on a map. I can also change around like text or change around basically anything that's like there. So like if we had like a button or something like that, you could make it say something. I can imagine I could also add entities as long as I like try to figure out where like the origin was. I basically have to do everything through notepad files. So it's not exactly the most intuitive experience in the world, but it works. And it's kind of true to the original experience of mapping in a way. But that's beside the point. And as said, also I'm not really sure how exactly he'd kind of feel about me modifying his map anyway, so maybe it's a good idea. I didn't get that potential ability to try and play around with it and see exactly how it'd go. So, with that in mind, thank you all for watching. It's been kind of pointless as usual, I guess. And I shall see you all, well, next time.